Hi everyone. So today I want to talk about a question we do get asked from time to time, and if we don't get asked, I know some people that start a business for the first time do ask this question to themselves, if not to us. And it's basically, can I do my own accounts? And we're in this stage in the world where we've got a kind of DIY economy and mentality that if we can do something ourselves, then sometimes we have a go at doing it ourselves, potentially to save money because of control, because it's easy to do, or we don't see the value in paying somebody else. And I can give you examples where I do exactly the same. We've just recently moved into a new house and we found some parquet flooring underneath the carpet. And when I've looked some quotes to get it restored, it seemed quite expensive. It was like £30 to £50 per square metre. And so we decided to hire a sander, hack it ourselves and see how we get on basically. We feel like we've done a good job, but you'll never know really. We might have done a good job in layman's terms to the average person, but to someone who knows what they're doing, they might look at it and say, you've done an awful job. But the and also you can compare it to maybe fixing your own car. Some people try and service their own car, change their own brakes or change their own oil. I mean, personally, I would not have a clue where to start, and I wouldn't even bother trying. But if you're trying to repair your engine, for example, because you've got a problem with your car, if you've done a good job because your car works. It still drives. You fixed it. You can literally drive up the road. It might break down in a few miles, but at least the engine's running and it goes. The problem with doing your own accounts, and I'll clarify what that potentially means because there's a major difference between doing your own tax return as a self-employed person and doing your own accounts as a limited company. But the problem with some of these things, doing your own accounts or your own tax return, is you don't know what you don't know, and you're basically unconsciously incompetent. And I don't say that as a negative, it's just a fact of life, and we can all say this. Goes back to me with the parquet flooring. I don't know what I don't know. And so basically you could be doing things yourself, but you don't know what you're doing right, you don't know what you're doing wrong. And unlike a car that either works or it doesn't work, you might not actually uncover the errors or mistakes or the missed opportunities from doing your own accounts. So hopefully that makes sense. But there are some situations where I do tell people, they could be picking up the phone, they're potentially looking at using our services, and sometimes I'll say, look, you can do that yourself. It's probably fairly straightforward. Even though I stand by the value we can bring as accountants, because we're not just about tax savings, although we do often save you at least our fees in tax, if not more. We can help you, particularly for your business, to grow your business. It's not just about the tax, it's about what you're trying to get out of your business and your life. But I won't go into too much detail with that, but some things you can have a go at doing yourself, and sometimes you might not go too far wrong, is if you're self-employed, you don't get any tax stopped at source. You know what your income is. Let's pretend you've got £5,000 of self-employed income. You've only got a few expenses or hardly no expenses, and you know exactly what you can claim because you've hardly got any expenses. Then it should be fairly black and white what your profit is, what your income is, what your expenses are. Where it gets complicated is, have you got assets? Should you be claiming capital allowances? Should you be depreciating the asset? Do you need, if you've got dual use, if you've got personal use and business use for your expenses, how much should you claim for working from home? Are you VAT registered? Have you got staff? Am I leasing the vehicle? Should I be claiming mileage, a rate per mile? So it can be complicated, but if you've got none of those concerns, if you've literally got a few K in the bank from self-employed income, you know what your expenses are, you can have a go and do that yourself. Okay, if you're a limited company, it's a completely different ball game. And I have spoken to someone recently who doesn't quite see the value in us looking after them limited company because it's a one-man band limited company. It's a basic setup. But there's a lot to go wrong, quite frankly. Although it might seem straightforward, it might seem it's only you. When you're a limited company, you're not just submitting a tax return, although we do prepare a set of accounts in order to prepare your tax return if you're self-employed. If you're a limited company, you've got to prepare and submit proper set of accounts to Companies House. And when I say a proper set of accounts, it must comply with accounting standards. It must be submitted to Companies House. You must have a balance sheet, so not just a record of your income expenses, but a record of your assets and liabilities. You've got to do disclosures. You've also got to submit a corporation tax return. You should also submit a personal tax return. Potentially need to set up a payroll scheme to figure out what to pay yourself, and there's a tax efficient way of paying yourself. How much do you pay yourself as a salary? How much do you pay yourself as a dividend? Are you processing it correctly with HMRC so you're complying with RTI obligations? Do you know what you're doing in terms of your pension obligations? Are you getting your national insurance credits? Are you optimising your tax savings? There's quite a lot to do for a limited company. So I don't want to talk too long because I can probably blabber on all day and it's probably boring already. But what I will say to summarise is potentially you can do it yourself if it's really small numbers, if you're self-employed. If you're a limited company, I really do not recommend doing it yourself. If you need to speak about any of this, give me a chat. Thanks, guys.